So, power law number 15 is crush your enemy totally, right? So, this makes me think of a scorched earth campaign. Lots of leaders, lots of fancy leaders, especially on the presidential, on our money, which I probably should have just kept it up. But you got Andrew Jackson, right? He was all about Trail of Tears, making sure you purify America for only the white European colonists, the English speaking Protestants, only they can actually come here and vote, but the males, right, not any of the women, and he's willing to use violence in order to get all the Native Americans out of there. That's following the tradition of basically white people since they got here, right? Since Christopher Columbus to George Washington, to Andrew Jackson. So that's Nagasaki and Hiroshima. That was scorched earth campaign. You annihilate your enemy. You want total victory. You don't want to just crush their body. You want to crush their spirit. They had kamikazes, right? They were willing to just commit suicide. Harry Carey is that same thing, but they were willing to, just basically say fuck it, and for their family and all. They're basically suicide bombers, right? So they were going to fight to the death like that. Well, how are you going to crush them into fucking, their whole spirit? Well, you have to drop 2 nuclear bombs on them. Well, apparently so, since that's what Truman did, 1945, which is bullshit. Fuck that. And I think it was Truman. Man, that sucks. I don't know who the fuck. They get. Basically, there's a continuity when it comes to. But yeah, Truman was after FDR, right? Or Eisenhower, or FDR. Yeah, regardless, the point of dropping the bomb, whoever was president, was to scare Stalin. So it wasn't even to, in the war, which is what everybody says, oh, it saved lives because that's why we had to do it. No, we weren't trying to save lives. We weren't trying to hurry up and end the war. We were trying to scare the shit out of Stalin. And, and yeah, that did. Basically, not only did he know that we had the bomb, but we're willing to use it twice, not give a fuck. So that was pretty, it's pretty intense. Stalin, it's hard to make him look like a fucking sort of a sympathetic figure. George Washington, he did the Scorched Earth campaign with the Iroquois. William Tecumseh Sherman in his March to the Sea. Thanksgiving Day is based upon the Pequot War of 1637, which had a massacre about 700 people, old men, women, and children. So happy Thanksgiving Day, every fucking body. Pequot War is all about. Then you want to talk about terrorism. Terrorism is the definition from the State Department is the attacking civilian population for political reasons. So in a war for anything else, you have to attack the military. But if you attack the people, the civilization, well, actually in a war, I guess you're allowed to do anything you want to. During wartime, all is fair in love and war. So if there's, I'm not even for sure, like, the rules for warfare doesn't even make any sense right on the face of it, because if it's war, right, it's war. War isn't, there's really no compromising when it comes to war. And then Haiti, Columbus Day, right? So ever since 1492, we've had people basically trying to crush, the Native Americans, and that's total annihilation. In terms of power, that's a good idea. It's a very smart idea. Sun Tzu, the 48, or the 48. This comes from Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power. But this he takes Machiavelli and he takes Sun Tzu, and he takes a lot of historical and philosophical or philosophers quotes and stuff. So he compiles all this information in one book, and so to annihilate people, the very first story that he comes across is Hsing Yu and Liu Peng. Okay, so Hsing Yu and Liu Peng. So this is some Chinese history, and I actually get to learn some things in Chinese history because I don't know much. This guy is Chiang Kai-shek. So Chiang Kai-shek, he's a Chinese political military leader, served the leader of the Republic of China between 1928 to 1975. He's known as Jiang Jishi. Okay, I'm not gonna try to do that. But I heard he actually is the one who loses China, and he goes to Taiwan, and then his government only rules over Taiwan while this other government takes over for China. So he's like the last emperor or something. I don't know. Anyways, we'll find out more about him because it's not even the story isn't about him. It's about Hsing Yu and Liu Peng. Okay, so here's was it Zhang Yu, but here it says HSIANG, and here it says X. So anyways, it's his Zhang, Higzang Yu. Man, they should write it phonetically, right? So I wish that I'm gonna just say it phonetically how it looks to me. So his Xiang Yu, Xing Yang, Ziyang Ji, Zheng Yu. So Zhang Yu, the Duke of Lu, Jang Ji. God damn. This is too fucking hard to even talk about this guy. Emperor Yi of Chu. Emperor Yi of Chu. What? Come on, Chinese people. Like, I mean, they're interpreters of the fucking Chinese language. What the fuck? Okay, I'm just gonna, this really, because I can't even say the fucker's name. So you got Hsing Yu and you got Liu Peng. These two generals began their careers as friends, fighting on the same side. Hsing Yu came from the nobility, large and powerful, given to bouts of violence and temper, a bit dual-witted, and he was yet a mighty warrior who always fought at the head of his troops. Liu Peng came from peasant stock. He had never been much of a soldier and preferred women and won to fighting. In fact, he was something of a scoundrel. Okay, so Liu Peng's a piece of shit, right? This is basically who Liu Peng is. He becomes the fucking founder of the Ming or the the Han dynasty. So the founder in the first dynasty is a personal name of Liu Bang, and it's weird. It says Liu Peng in here, but Liu Bang is where I see it printed everywhere else. So I don't know. I'm good. I'm double checking Robert Greene's work, so you need to edit this book a little bit better. But I still like how you're a cross section of history. So instead of just kind of this, goes transcends nationalities. They're only English speaking people, I guess. But that's if you know English, then you can learn the 48 laws to power. So Emperor Gao, also Gao Zhu, personal name Liu Bang. This is the portrait of Emperor Gao. This is Liu Bang. So Liu Bang is a piece of shit, right? No, he's not a piece of shit. He's a rags to riches story. He's peasant. He's not a very good warrior. He's not a very good soldier. He loves women and drinking more than actually fighting. But eventually, he's wily. So his scoundrel's ways, he's able to recognize good strategists, keep them around him as advisors, listen to their advice, and so he was able to rise up in the army through these strengths. So he's like George W. Bush, right? He's not exactly 100% smart man himself, but he surrounded himself with some smart motherfuckers that he's going to be okay. They have a quote here in the book: the remnants of an enemy can become active like those of a disease or fire, hence these should be exterminated completely. One should never ignore an enemy. Knowing him to be weak, he becomes dangerous in due course, like the spark of fire in a haystack. So yeah, you don't leave an ember around. If there's an enemy around, you have to crush him. And they speak about war and death, and that's how they crush everybody here, but we can't do that now. So we have to crush people in different ways. And how do you crush people in different ways? There's plenty of ways. The Catholics, they shame people. They excommunicate them. So if they kick a priest out, or Sinead O'Connor rips up the picture of the fucking Pope or whatever and gets shamed about it, then she it forces her to go into the convent and actually become a priest herself to show the world that she wasn't a piece of shit. But excommunication, that's one way to sort of annihilate somebody without actually annihilating them, to banish them, to send them into exile, to send them into prison, to silence them, to cut off all communication, to hinder their sort of freedoms in any particular way that they enjoy. So there's plenty of ways, to destroy like a person's spirit, right? To take away what they really want to do. Also to destroy their body and spirit. So just throw them in jail, right? And don't feed them for 5 days, and then they'll be happy just to see civilization, shit, and get some food, and probably starve in 5 days. Don't you start to digest your own organs after so long? So that's not. I don't know. I hope none of the prisons actually do that, but they're torture chambers, so I wouldn't put it past them. So you have Hsing Yu and you have Liu Peng, and then they're generals in the same kind of era. And the king of Chu sent 2 massive armies to conquer the powerful kingdom of Qin. One army went north under the generalship of Sung Yi. At one point, Hsing's commander Sung Yi hesitated and sent in his troops into battle. Furious, Hsing entered Sung Yi's tent, proclaimed him a traitor, cut off his head, and assumed sole command of the army. So this is Hsing. Okay, so Hsing is being a badass right now. So you got this Hsing Yu, right? This Higzang Yu. And he goes in and he cuts off in a battle. He executes his commander, chops his fucking head off because he hesitated in battle. So that's sort of like General McClellan, right? General McClellan hesitated against Stonewall Jackson. Stonewall's a genius for using unpredictability in his movements, but McClellan would be known for hesitating. And so if it was being fought, the Civil War, American Civil War is being fought like they fight in China, then it would be, they would have chopped off General McClellan's head. So they didn't do it that way. Proclaim him a traitor, cut off his head, assume sole command. Now we just fire the generals. We don't actually chop off their heads anymore. That's pretty dramatic, right? Without waiting for orders, he left the northern front, marched directly on Hsing Yang. He felt certain there was a better soldier and general than Liu, but to his utter astonishment, his rival, leading a smaller, swifter army, managed to reach the place first. Fan Sing urged Hsing to kill his rival. So this is Hsing Yu, right? This privileged fucking rich dude, and then you have this new guy who's going to bring in the Han Dynasty. So the founder of the Han Dynasty is Liu Peng, right? Or Liu Bang. Liu Bang. Liu Bang. Liu Kang. Not Liu Kang, but Liu Bang. Jesus. All right, so Jesus Christ, God damn it. All right, my bad. So let's just carry on. Liu fell for the trap and came to the banquet, but Hsing hesitated and ordered the sword dance. And by the time he gave the signal, Liu had sensed the trap and managed to escape. So he invites him to a party, and then eventually he smells the trap and runs away. But he was able to get him there. He could have fucking killed him, but instead of doing it again, he hesitated. So sort of like his general, he hesitated. So hesitation is always the fucking thing that sort of, I guess stops action from happening. Liu Peng will steal your empire, yet make us all prisoners. So, Fan Hsing, bah, cried Fan to Hsing in disgust, seeing that Hsing had botched the plot. One cannot plan with the simpleton. Liu Peng will steal your empire yet and make us all prisoners. Realizing his mistake, Hsing hurriedly marched on Hsing Yang, this time determined to hack off his rival's head. Liu was never one to fight when the odds were against him. He abandoned the city. Hsing captured Hsing Yang, murdered the young prince of Qin, burned the city to the ground. Liu is now Hsing's bitter enemy, and he pursued him for many months. Finally cornered him in a walled city. Lack of food, his army in disarray. Liu sued for peace. Again, Fan Hsing warned Hsing, crush him now. If you let him go again, you'll be sorry later. But Hsing decided to be merciful. He wanted to bring Liu back to alive and to force his former friend to acknowledge him as master. Hsing backed down. The struggle continued. Making a false treaty, he lured Hsing into relaxing his defense and slaughtered almost all of his army. So eventually you got this man who fucks up the fucking Xing Yu, right? So Xing Yu is going to get fucked up. He says, I hear Liu Bang has offered. Okay, so check this out. This is the end of his fucking life, okay? Here's how he goes out. This is how this fucking man goes out. Hsing Yu, I wonder if they got death. All right, yeah, we got death here. So it says something about how he eventually says, you guys, he says that he was going to fucking kill me, or I'm going to kill myself. So making a false treaty, he lured Hsing into relaxing his defense, then slaughtered almost all of his party. Hsing, Xing Yu managed to escape alone and on foot, knowing that Liu Bang had put a bounty on his head. He came upon a small group of his own retreating soldiers and cried out, I hear Liu Bang has offered 1,000 pieces of gold and a fief of 10,000 families for my head. Let me do you a favor. Then slit his own throat and died. So power cannot be dealt with in this way. It must be exterminated, crushed, denied the chance to return to haunt us. This is all the truer with the former friend who has become an enemy. The law governed fatal antagonisms reads, reconciliation is out of the question. Only one side can win, and it must win totally. Liu Bang learned this lesson well. After defeating Hsing Yu, this son of a farmer went on to become supreme commander of the armies of Chu, crushing his next rival, the king of Chu, his own former leader. He crowned himself emperor, defeated everyone in his path, and went down history as one of the greatest rulers of China, the immortal Han Cao Tzu, founder of the Han Dynasty. Right? Which we knew. We knew that this man was the founder of the Han Dynasty. So congratulations to this man for scheming, being a peasant, coming from nothing, and taking down a fucking royal, taking down royalty. I just like that. Rags the richest story, and also the poor taking over for the rich. I just like those parts. So those who seek to achieve things should show no mercy. This is by Kautilya, an Indian philosopher, 3rd century BC. Here's a story about the Borgias. About in one fell swoop, Borgia had got rid of his former generals and worst enemies. The story reminded me of The Godfather. There's the final scene of The Godfather, which is, talking about annihilating your enemies. That's, let's see here. Final Front Fantasy. Marker peanut popcorn. Okay. So it's a great juxtaposition. So spoiler alert, right? And I'm going to do it choppy because this is educational purpose here.
Michael, you lousy bastard! You killed my husband. You waited until Papa died so nobody could stop you, and then you.
Yeah, they killed the husband and you killed the whole people, but that isn't what I was trying to see. Not the final scene, but like, the next to final scene. So you have, oh, Mo Greene. Oh, man. Oh, blood coming out all fake. It's old school. This is when graphics didn't matter. It's weird. He shoots him in right there in public on the inside. He doesn't even like try to run away or something. He just kind of stands there and growls. You got Tommy guns. Killed somebody in bed with somebody else. Well, that guy's pretending to be a cop all day long, and then eventually when they came out, bam, bam, bam. Which is actually a fascinating plot. In nomine Patris. So the juxtaposition between the baptism, which is one of birth, and all the bloodshed, of death, is, it's one of the famous cinematography things. I don't know what I'm talking about, but that's total annihilation, right? So he wanted to become the next Godfather. His father had died. He was not the heir apparent. I think he's the third in line, but Sonny was killed, and then you had fucking Fredo, that fucking fucking moron, and he wasn't capable of really doing hardly much of anything. So in order for his rise, he had to eliminate all of his enemies. He had to get rid of all the families that had competed and kind of bunched in on his territory. So let's see. We talked a little bit about Karl von Clausewitz. Yeah, he was a Prussian who was all about war and total fucking war, and talking about total crushing your enemies. That's all that you should do is total. What do they call that? Unconditional surrender. That's what they got with the Civil War with General Lee. Unconditional surrender, absolutely 100% surrender to you. And then with that sort of contract, you're able to sort of plunder the nation that you had just conquered. So if you get because a lot of times you can have a war which does a peace treaty which sort of compromises with shit. So there's not one winner, one loser, but sort of two winner, half losers. And really war is always fucking losing, right? My liberal side says, but we are actually a country in war still today, right? And so that's something, right? Okay, so Wu Chao was born in AD 625, the daughter of a duke, as a beautiful young woman of many charms. She was accordingly attached to the harem of Emperor Taesung. Okay, so now we're going to talk about another story. So this is another observance of the law. So this was a transgression of the law with Liu Peng. He allowed somebody to fester, and then eventually he wound up fucking getting wiped out. And then you had the founder of the Han Dynasty start a whole brand new fucking empire, and nobody gave a fuck about that old fucking rich dude who he had fucking ousted and outsmarted and ousted. Some more Chinese history. You have this woman, okay, Wu Chao, was born into a noble Chinese family, began serving as emperor as a concubine. When she was a younger teenager, as the mother of two of the emperor's sons, Wu gained power in the palace. Although little was about her was written during her life, the story goes that Wu successfully accused the empress of murder, then took her place. After a few years of marriage, the emperor became incapacitated. Wu took over. After he died, she manipulated her son so that She was the de facto ruler, and in 1690 she was declared empress. Under her reign, the Tang dynasty continued to unify, and Wu helped to encourage the growth of Buddhism in China. So she, is a fucking ruthless fucking ruler, but she keeps her kingdom. Okay, so and how does this woman Wu Chao? How does Wu Chao keep her kingdom? Well, she does it through brutality, and she does it with as much brutality as possible. Man, I just deleted that, which was her image, but I think we can do it from here. So Wu Chao, she is actually known for being a butcher, right? So you have all these butchers. McKinley, he's on the fucking $500 bill, and he's the one that started the goddamn empire. And is the empire good? It's here, when nobody complained about it. It's 1898, so 200 or 100 and something years later. This is Wu Chao. I would assume it's not this person with the thing. It's this. Let's see, this person. Here's a nice flowing gown. Here's a nice portrait of her looking all Cinderella-ish, right? So with the gowns and the yellow, that's Wu Chao. So who is this woman? So she starts as a concubine, right? And then eventually she's not a concubine. And, congratulations to her. So this is 625 AD. She was the daughter of a duke. Beautiful young woman and many charms, but basically a concubine. So she's just trying to become the emperor's favorite. So there's a house full of sort of whores. You got a whorehouse, and then they all fought over the emperor's love. And her beauty and forceful character won her this battle. So her beauty and forceful character won it. Okay, so she was able to butt herself in, get herself in front of him, and say, "Love me, love me." But knowing that an emperor, like other powerful men, is a creature of whim, she could easily be replaced. She kept an eye on the future. So she had the man, right? She got the emperor to fall in love with her, but she knows that, it could be like the Marilyn Monroe type of thing. Just because the fucking JFK is, just because JFK has Marilyn Monroe, that doesn't necessarily mean that Marilyn Monroe is going to get to become president. Which we see that she actually doesn't. So that's what happened kind of to her. So eventually they says that there's somebody dies, the emperor dies, and then anybody that was with the emperor also goes with them, and so they put her into a convent. So she suffered the fate to which all wives and concubines of a diseased emperor were bound by traditional law, her head shaven. She entered a convent for which was supposed to be the rest of her life. For 7 years, Wu schemed to escape by communicating in secret with the new emperor and by befriending his wife, the empress. She managed to get a highly unusual royal edict, allowing her to return to the palace and to the royal harem. Once there, she fawned on the empress while still sleeping with the emperor. The empress did not discourage this. She had yet to provide the emperor with an heir. Her position was vulnerable, and Wu was a valuable ally. In 654, Wu Chao gave birth to a child. One day, the empress came to visit, and as soon as she left, Wu smothered the newborn, her own baby. When the murder was discovered, suspicion immediately fell on the empress, who had been on the scene moments earlier and whose jealous nature was known by all. This was precisely Wu's plan shortly thereafter. So damn, she fucked over her, friend. Basically, she gets to be friends with the emperor, gets to be friends with the empress, and then even the empress knows about the relationship, but instead of like fucking appreciating that she's got a good ass friend, Wu Chao fucking sets up her friend and kills her own goddamn kid. This fucking female, right? This Cinderella. I was talking about a Chinese Cinderella, right? She's pretty, so clearly she couldn't just kill her own child. But that's being pretty and being good actually has no correlation whatsoever. So Wu Chao gave birth to a child. One day the empress came to visit, and as soon as she had left, Wu smothered the newborn, her own baby. When the murder was discovered, suspicion immediately fell on the empress, who had been on the scene moments earlier, whose jealous nature is known by all. Right, so she fucking tricked everybody, right? Wu Chao's crowned empress in her place. Her new husband, addicted to his life of pleasure, gladly gave up the reins of government to Wu Chao, who was from then known as Empress Wu. So once, so that's what a fucking coup d'etat. That's one way to fucking have a coup d'etat. That's a fucking silent in the middle fucking. So you're a man, you're leading the country, and then eventually, if you're a bachelor or if you have a wife, if you're a woman who's able to find the love of this, this leader or emperor, Michelle Obama better watch out. If Barack Obama is able to find somebody, Michelle Obama better watch out, because someone's going to take her man. And so So where am I going with this? So she's a brutal fucking piece of shit, right? So there's enemies everywhere. When she was 41, she began to fear that her beautiful young niece was becoming the emperor's favorite, so she poisoned the woman with a clay mixed into her food, and so I guess that killed her. Clay kills you. In 675, her own son, touted as the heir apparent, was poisoned as well. So she's killing her own kid again, right? That's twice she killed her own fucking kid. Then she has an illegitimate kid, which is a kid out of wedlock. So what? She still had the baby for 9 months, but she exiles that kid, right? A little later on trumped up charges, and the emperor dies. Wu manages to have a son after that, declared unfit for the throne. So that all this meant that her youngest son, the fucking dumb piece of shit that, if you watched who's oh man, if you're watching that one show that has that Arrested Development. So whenever you're watching Arrested Development, Buster. So if you're Buster, from Arrested Development, that's going to be the fucking emperor because of the way that she had set this shit up. But Buster is a fucking douchebag, right? And so if Buster is running things, that basically her mother is running things. So if mother can control Buster, then whatever Buster is doing is actually being ruled over by the mother. So that's what Empress Wu is doing, okay? So over the next 5 years, there are innumerable palace coups. All of them failed. One of the conspirators were executed by 1688. There was no one left to challenge Wu. She proclaimed herself a divine descendant of Buddha. In 1690, her wishes were finally granted. She was named Holy and Divine Emperor of China. Wu became emperor because there was literally nobody left from the previous Tang dynasty, and so she ruled unchallenged for over a decade of relative peace. In 705, at the age of 80, she was forced to abdicate. So she got she kept her kingdom, right? That's another Machiavellian thing. If you're the prince, you keep your kingdom, no matter what. You keep your fucking kingdom. So when Mubarak lost his kingdom and he's put into the fucking prison, that was embarrassing and made him look stupid. He lost the kingdom, so like his fucking tenure, he'll always be known as the man who was a tyrant for 30 years and then lost the kingdom. And then the Egyptian revolution's been fucking lost too, because you got the military who's in control. So it's always been totalitarian. The fucking totalitarianists were the ones who controlled them the whole time, and now the totalitarians are the one in power, just like in America, right? So we got totalitarian fucking military here, totalitarian military there, and now we're talking about how to crush the enemy totally. So, she was a brutal fucking, piece of shit, but she was known to have a good fucking tenure. She was an effectual ruler, so I guess she was able to, like, I don't know, keep the peace and have shit built up for everybody. This again, Karl von Clausewitz, right? We've already seen him. Now, Chiang Kai-shek this is a big ass story because this is about the communists. Okay, so if you don't know anything about communism, pay attention because you're going to learn nothing about communism, but you will learn something about the military battles of the communists. Okay, so keys to power. Crush your enemy is part of Sun Tzu's 4th century BC, author of Art of War. Your enemies wish you ill. There's nothing they want more than to eliminate you. If in your struggles with them you stop halfway or even 3/4 of the way out of mercy or hope of reconciliation, you only make them more determined, more embittered, and they will someday take revenge. They may act friendly for the time being, but this is only because you have defeated them. They have no choice but to bide their time. The solution: have no mercy. Crush your enemies as totally as they would crush you. Ultimately, the only peace and security you can hope for from your enemies is their disappearance. Mao Zedong, Tsetung, Mao Zedong, a devoted reader of Sun Tzu of Chinese history, generally knew the importance of this law: crush your enemy totally. So let's check out Mao. We're gonna spell it like he does for some reason. He spells it Mao Tse Tung. And Mao Tse Tung is going to go into the Wikipedia, probably tell us, even though fucking, okay, yeah, so it's Mao Zedong. That's who he's talking about here, this fucking bald douchebag here. Look at me, I don't even have hair. Ha, ha, ha. I'm Mao Zedong. He's going to be the communist fucking hero. I heard he fucking wiped out or genocided a lot of his own people, fucking purification type shit. Sort of like Moses, right? Fucking purify. So this is what we're going to learn is actually how Mao Zedong is going to annihilate Chiang Kai-shek. Or no, it's a transgression of the law. Wait, what are we doing? Keys to power. So this is just the sum up of everything. Okay, so Chiang was determined to eliminate every last communist, and by a few years later, Mao had less than 10,000 soldiers left. By 1937, in fact, when China was invaded by Japan, Chiang Kai-shek calculated that the communists were no longer a threat. So they had, okay, 1934, the communist leader Mao Zedong had 75,000 poorly equipped soldiers flee into the mountains. So when it comes to warfare, mountains are a good cover, right? So the Haitians, how are the Haitian people ever able to defeat, the poor slave fucking population of Haiti, defeat the entire French fucking military, the goddamn fucking, the French Empire, Napoleon. The Haitian people, they was able to do it because they got fucking mountains. You can't fuck with mountain peoples. There's so many corners and so many ways around the bend that eventually when people go into the mountains, they say, oh, fuck it, we ain't going to do anything there. Civilization is actually the fucking cancer. The people in the mountains are the only ones who's actually able to save themselves away from the cancer. So this is, Chiang Kai-shek. And Chiang Kai-shek is like the fucking dictator, ruler, emperor person. And you got Mao Zedong, who's got about 75,000 followers, who runs into the mountains. And so Chiang Kai-shek is going to fight and kill every fucking communist in the fucking world. So basically, he's an American, right? This is what the American presidents have been for, to fucking root and destroy communism anywhere it rears its ugly head. That was the point of Vietnam, right? That's why we were fucking napalming fucking little babies. 4 million fucking people, I think, 3 or 4 million estimated people died in the Vietnamese war for independence. So they had to overthrow a fucking colonial, oppressive empire, just like the American people did with our revolution. So the wisdom behind crushing the enemy is as ancient as the Bible. Its practitioner, first one may have been Moses, who learned it from God himself when he parted the Red Sea for the Jews. So not only did he fucking, kill 3,000 of the Levites, the tribes of Canaan, because of the fucking golden calf debacle, right? The whole golden calf massacre. I guess you could actually, that's the fucking Moses had the golden calf massacre right outside Mount Sinai with the first set of 10 Commandments, but that bastard wanted to throw a little hissy fit and then fucking murdered everybody, right? Because he's in the purification. There's only some good Jews and other Jews are not good Jews. But I think there's actually a tribe today, the Levites today, that actually like practice those people that were, I don't know, that they don't have golden calf. Do they? um, so his mistake is that he didn't crush Mao Zedong. He eventually wears Mao Zedong out to 10,000. So Mao Zedong has got 75,000. Then he was able to whittle him down about 10,000, and Chiang Kai-shek gets invaded by Japan. And so now he's like, well, I think I could put the communists off for a second and while I'm battling Japan. And so while he's battling Japan, you got fucking Mao Zedong, who's just plotting up the whole fucking time. So 10 years later, the communists are going to recover, and they're going to recover and enough to rout Chiang's army. Chiang, forgotten the ancient wisdom of crushing the enemy, Mao had not. Chiang was pursued until he and his enemy army fled to the island of Taiwan. Nothing remains of his regime in mainland China to this day. So ever since Mao Zedong came on the scene with his 10,000 communists that he had left in the mountains, he was able to take over the entire government of China. And that's how all the dynasties actually was run, was through violence. So I wonder actually how the dynasties of Kentucky, what they would look like. So that's the observance of the laws. You have to totally crush your enemies if you leave one ember of light. So if you're going to try to, there's many ways. Okay, so let's see what are other ways that is not murder. That is crushing your enemy. So you can beat somebody up. You can humiliate them, right? Beat them up, beat them down when they're down on the ground. People see that they was humiliated and how embarrassing. They used to cane people, right? They would just take a cane and embarrass you by hitting you with a cane, or slap you with some sort of fucking, I don't know, cowhide skin or some shit. So there's just stupid ass ways, but basically violence. There's if you have to crush your enemy totally. If you need to, I don't know. Say your kid was got there's that one story where the man walks in and he sees his young boy getting molested by his 18-year-old caretaker. And he said that he had trusted him or he loved the fucking 18-year-old caretaker up until that point. When he saw what had happened, he walked in on them and he saw there was like a scene that happened that was sort of There's he had just zipped up his pants or some shit, and you could tell that something had just happened. And so as soon as the father realized what the fuck happened, he beat the piss out of the fucking 18-year-old who's sitting there fucking had sexually assaulted this poor fucking boy for many years, and without the father being none the wiser to it. And so finally walked in and he caught him and he beat the fucking piss out of him and he blacked his face up and he made a big old fucking bruise on his eyes, black and blue and everything, and he was in prison. And we saw the pictures of it. He called the fucking 911 operator. Was like, I got a bloody pool of, I got a messy bloody pool here or some shit. And I beat the shit out of this. I saw what the fuck happened, and he's sitting right here. He's sitting right on the ground here for you, waiting for you. So he beat the fuck out of him, right? So he didn't totally annihilate him in terms of murdering him, but he did, do some serious violent damage on him, and I don't think there's going to be any charges, and rightfully so. He did what anybody should do when they see somebody fucking, their fucking kid. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah. So good for him, but annihilating your enemy doesn't necessarily mean you have to murder him. He was able to beat the shit out of him. He's got all this publicity. He's going to get probably raped and fucking molested in prison and shit. So there's going to be sort of a weird poetic justice, but it might be a sympathetic type of thing if it goes too fucking far. And so that's, because we're supposed to reform motherfuckers. So somehow we got this fucking sick fucking kid, this fucking 19-year-old fucker. You gotta somehow either figure out what the fuck is wrong with him and put him back into society, or just banish him and put him into exile, right? So he's gonna go to jail, he's gonna go to prison behind bars for how long. He's gonna have to come out, register as a sex offender and try to fend for himself when he comes out of here. He's fucked. That kid is fucked. There's no fucking way. His life is gonna be. He's gonna have a miserable existence either behind bars. And if he gets out, I don't see him becoming a respectable type of person in the community. So he annihilated his reputation, who he is, and everything. And good for the father for doing that. So that's one way to fuck up somebody's reputation. Fuck up somebody's to annihilate, somebody to get revenge on them. There's many ways. So to shame them, to excommunicate them, to put them in prison, to beat them up. Let's see, what are other ways? You can, call them out and say, hey, you're a piece of shit, go fuck yourself, right? You can insult them, but I don't know if that's just, that's a small injury. We're trying to annihilate these motherfuckers, right? So we can't actually just fucking hit them with a small little fucking gut check. We gotta fucking just kind of hit their head down into the ground, right? Smash them down into the ground where they just fucking go straight down, right? And they won't ever get back up. They won't ever want to get back up. Which actually goes back to the very first quote of the first part of this video. All great leaders since Moses knows that, no, that's not it. I don't know. It doesn't. It does, but it doesn't matter. So to finish off the fucking law, let's see. We go to. It's not, of course, a question of murder, right? So this is what I was trying to tell you. You never go halfway. That's what they're basically trying to say. When you fucking play, you play to fucking, you win. You play to win. When winners want the ball, and not only do they want the ball, when they get the ball, they fucking win. And so it is not, of course, a question of murder. It's a question of banishment, sufficiently weakened and then exiled from your court forever. Your enemies are rendered harmless. They have no hope of recovering, insinuating themselves and hurting you. If they cannot be banished, at least understand that they're plotting against you. So if you cannot eliminate your fucking, enemy in some part, just know that they're plotting against you. They're going to try to fuck you over in some fucking way. So feign friendliness if you got to, but just know, pay no heed to any fucking thing that they say. It doesn't fucking matter. You know they're an enemy. You know they're plotting against you. So, your only weapon in such a situation is your own wariness. If you cannot banish them immediately, then plot for the best time to act. The image is a viper, which is actually fascinating because you got the Viper Squad of the LMPD. So if I was to take the advice of Robert Greene and apply it to how, I'm suing the Viper Squad of the LMPD for $2.4 million. $2.4 million. This is because they give me $28,000 in medical bills, times it by this, times it by that, $2.4 million. Then you have it's punitive damages. So it's to show the Viper Squad that you cannot fucking go around beating whoever the fuck you want to beat up for no apparent fucking reason. It's total fucking bullshit. A viper crushed beneath your foot but left alive will rear up and bite you with a double dose of venom. So if I don't win this case, so I have a case out there, right? And it's against the Viper Squad, against the LMPD for several $1 million. And it's going to be embarrassing. They're not going to like it, and they did wrong. So they haven't tried to settle yet, and so I'm going to have to carry forward. And so I'm going to have to crush them completely. I don't want to leave this fucking viper alive. I don't want to leave this fucking snake alive to where it's going to come back and give me twice the venom. That's the image that Robert Greene puts it, as a fucking venomous snake, a viper, a goddamn viper. So that's weird. Shouldn't that automatically just be suspect? The leader of the Viper Squad for the first 2 years, including the time when they fucking kicked my ass, murdered a fucking innocent 19-year-old kid just for the fuck of it, just for a laugh, right? He was an undercover dude, jumps out, fucking sees a car driving off with a black dude in it, starts shooting 13 times, murdered dude. Dude's got no drugs, got no fucking gun, done nothing, clear fucking record, and that's just it. So they put him ahead of the Viper Squad, then that motherfucker comes at me. And to think that, maybe putting the head of the Ku Klux Klan in charge of the goddamn fucking, main mercenary squad for the police chief, maybe that's not a very good idea. The shield, the fucking shield type bullshit. So they're just basically going to be more fucking racist, more fucking bullshit, more institutional horseshit. Viper, they're a fucking snake. They named themselves. They're a poisonous fucking snake, and so they need to be. They need to be taught a lesson, and they need to know never to fuck with me again, and shouldn't fuck with really any Louisville citizen in this fucking, in the whole place. They shouldn't be fucking with anybody. Period. They should be there to solve people's problems, not to be fucking making it worse for other people. So. Let's see. They have no hope of recovering, insinuating themselves and hurting you. So I have to hit them so hard, $2.4 million, and once they're hit, then that's that they know what happened. They know what the fuck is up. You just fucked up, and you fucked up big time. And so I think if I win that case, then that's not me annihilating them, in terms of warfare, which is what is on the the cover of all of our money, right? The presidents and Andrew Jackson and fucking Alexander goddamn Hamilton. Oh my god, I fucking hate Alexander Hamilton. The $10 bill. Fuck the $10 bill. I'd rather have two fives, instead of a $10 bill. So it's not, of course, a question of murder. It's a question of banishment. And please, let's see. Okay, so a viper crushed beneath your foot but left alive will rear up and bite you with a double dose of venom. An enemy that is left around is like a half-dead viper that you nurse back to health. Time makes the venom go stronger. So that's what you do when you allow people to have, when these enemies come out, they fester and they boil and they plot and they plot. So an enemy that is left around is like a half-dead viper that you nurse back to health. So yeah, the $2.4 million lawsuit should put them in their fucking place, and hopefully I would be able to, survive and move on with that. So, authority 4, it must be noted that men must either be caressed or else annihilated. They will revenge themselves for small injuries, but cannot do so for great ones. The injury, therefore, that we must do to a man must be such that we need not fear his vengeance. Niccolo Machiavelli, 1869, 1527. Reversal. Okay, so the annihilating your enemies is basically without fucking question. If it's a fucking enemy, you annihilate them. You get rid of them. You fucking fuck up their reputation. You send them into exile. You put them in fucking prison. You put them in jail. You kick their fucking ass. You humiliate them. You shame them. You exile them. All the fucking things that we've gone through today. This is law 15 of fucking 48 Laws of Power, Robert Greene. But the reversal. So this is, virtually 100% of the time, but there is a reversal. So think maybe 95, 90% of the time, always annihilate your enemy. When shouldn't you annihilate them? When they can hang themselves. So if you can get them to the point where you're almost, they got them on the ropes and you could fuck them up, but you're like, you know what? I think you're just going to fuck up your own fucking life, and then you just walk away. That'll take care of your own fucking problem for you. You don't have to worry about it, right? They go ahead and hang themselves. And then, and you don't look like an asshole. You walk away, right? So you didn't have any fucking thing to do with it, and they did themselves. So this law should be very rarely ignored. Sometimes happen that it's better to let your enemies destroy themselves if such a thing is possible. In warfare, for example, a good general knows if he attacks an army when it is cornered, his soldiers will fight much more fiercely. So when the army is like got nothing else to live for, it's like, fucking A, we're going to have to fight to the death here. It's sometimes better than to leave them in an escape route. A way out. So that way, instead of cornering an army and making them fight fiercely, they start to run away, and then as they retreat, they get tired, and you can still root them out and take them out. They wear themselves out, ultimately more demoralized by the retreat than by any defeat. Might inflict on when they have someone on the ropes. Then you're only sure that you have no chance of recovery. You might let them hang themselves, let them be the agents of their own destruction. The result will be the same. This all comes down to basically the Treaty of Versailles in Germany. After World War I, why did we keep Germany as a country? Right? They stopped Prussia from existence, so we stopped. There's actually still royalty, fucking Prussia, but there's no land. But what about Germany? Why is Germany still a country? Like, I come from German lands, Bavaria, Prussia, and Austria, and the Czech Republic, and African. I got some African in me too. So my ancestors is kind of a mixture of a whole bunch of places, mostly in the German-speaking areas, right? But the specifics of it, instead of why do we have Germany, right? So why, after World War I, they're the one that started everything. They're the belligerents. They're the ones that everybody had ganged up on. And it was because of the declaration of war against Serbia by the Austria-Hungarians that started World War I, which was put pressure on by the Prussians. So Prussians really, they started that shit, the fucking Axis powers. So after the Allies had defeated Germany in World War I, how come we didn't, keep them out of the fucking war? Why did we just chop Germany up into different pieces like you did to Palestine, or you do to any other fucking territory which you conquer? Some people say that you want to have sympathy for them, because if you don't, then they're going to want, the Treaty of Versailles pissed off Hitler, and then Hitler comes back up and so we were too mean to the Germans. That's what the argument of Hitler is. But actually, if we had wiped out the whole country, there would have been no fucking Hitler to speak of whatsoever. But because we allowed Germany to exist, therefore we allowed the citizens to stay there, and we allowed one of the fucking fascist totalitarian fuck twats, that fucking love the monarchy and the fucking royalty. I guess he forgot Marie Antoinette, the French Revolution, King Louis the 16th, and basically the difference between the fucking old age and the new age. So modernity came in with that. But the Treaty of Versailles had such an effect on the Germans. Some would argue that in the long run, it'd be better to show them some leniency. The problem is your leniency involves another risk. It may embolden the enemy, which still harbors a grudge, but now has some room to operate. It is always wiser to crush your enemy if they plot revenge years later. Do not let your guard down, but simply crush them again, which we did with Hitler. But the fact that, we crushed fucking Germany once, we crushed them again, and we're still allowing them to remain. So nice for us, but they're an economic powerhouse, and I'm not sure why. If it's their own fucking doings, or if it's because our military is helping them. But if there's something engineering wise, or with their I don't know, intelligence, or their scientists, or their educational fucking fields, it's or maybe their system of government, their politics. But they're doing the best European country right now. The strongest European country is Germany. So we allowed the Germans to live, and now they're doing something strong. But the power rules to wipe them out, and maybe that's how we wipe them out, is by wiping them out, their military out. They have no military, so they're not allowed to go around killing anybody. They're allowed to trade and buy stuff and work and have make money and sell stuff and do capitalistic type of shit. But anything past that, they can't. They're not allowed to, have their own army and invade fucking Poland or try to take over anybody again, ever again. And the whole fucking world is on notice with that shit, right? That's twice fucking Germany did that shit. And the Germans are actually teaching their own, history. They're teaching about World War I and World War II, which is unlike America. We don't teach about the fucking Native Americans getting slaughtered. We mention it, but it's not like, how it was and how drastic and dastardly it was in the African slave trade, how it's the worst in all of human history. We don't do that either. So, yeah, Mao Zedong, the fucking communist that was able to outsmart fucking Chiang Kai-shek, who went to Taiwan, and now we still have a separate government in Taiwan and China, and it's all because of this guy. So some people might say Taiwan is the real China, and China today is actually the fake China. The communist China is the fake one. They could, but they would be wrong, because Mao Zedong was the one who got the mainland China.